All right, welcome to another episode of Internet Friends, the show where we just watch Theo get pets from Brie the entire time.
The
You're
first
welcome.
week they introduced it as the show and not the episode.
Yeah. No, like it's always like the show. It's never the episode.
No.
Yeah.
Look, the only thing I'm ever consistent about is being inconsistent.
We love that. We can count on that.
Only thing you can ever count on from me. So, how have you guys been?
Pretty good. Pretty good. I started my yearly playthrough of Portal 2. I've been enjoying that.
Nice.
I'm overdue for Mass Effect. I'll probably do that, like, probably next month. Actually, I think I'm a year clean from Mass Effect now, so.
Oh, wow. The thing that sucks with doing a yearly playthrough of Portal is that, like, I remember all the puzzles still, so I just fly through the game.
Yeah, same thing happens to me every time I go back to Ocarina of Time. Like, it's one of those things, like, I probably, like, haven't played it in 4 years, and then, like, I play it, it's just like, oh, I remember where everything is, and, like, I will literally just fly through it.
Yeah. It sucks, but it's weird. It's weird, because it's still fun, but it's like, I wish I could experience this new again.
Yeah. No, that's always kind of interesting. What about you, Brie? What have you been up to?
I had one of those like realizations where turns out late stage capitalism not great for anybody. Listen, and hold up, I knew that
Unofficial theme of the show is always, late stage capitalism, of course.
Yeah, just ruining all our lives. But I had a comment from two different friends where they're like, hey, I don't think you leave your house unless you're going to work, and I think that's a problem. And I was like, oh yeah, no, that's a problem. So
Yeah.
I'm working on that. So, and I work and I sleep, and that is like it. And I'm like, okay, we need to work on that. So I will eventually.
Yeah, hobbies are expensive, and socialization is also expensive.
Yeah.
And exhausting. My social battery, like post COVID, is like so small. I really cannot handle that much social interaction, but I do need it. So it is tough.
If you think that's bad, try going to a wedding across the country where all of your family is. Not just like your mom's there, your dad's there, like all of them. Like every single people who don't even talk to each other all in one room.
Oh, it's exhausting.
No, thank you.
So that's what I was doing. I was at my sister's wedding. It was nice. It was a very nice wedding. It was kind of funny considering because, obviously mix of families in different kind of places. I had to explain to Emily, like, hey, just so you know, if you have any questions about why I am the way I am, everybody responsible for that is here. So
You're pointing out, like, okay, so I don't talk to them because, and they, oh, well, fuck that person. And
well, see, I'm in a weird position because I was always the one who was just like avoid drama at all cost, and so everyone's cool with me. Like nobody has a problem with me because I was always the like, I don't even care. I'm not getting involved.
Probably smart.
yeah, I'm the one who got kicked out of the church, so my dad's side of the family, I'm the black sheep there. I get a lot of side eyes and.
Yeah, no, it's always funny every time I go out to Texas to see my family. It's like it triggers a family reunion like every single time when I show up out there because like they're just like, oh, Aaron, he still exists. What's he been up to? I was just like, oh, I'm just all the way on the East Coast avoiding all of you. But no, that was fun. But yeah, I had to also be like, yeah, this is like the first time everybody in my family is in the same room, and this will probably never happen again.
Okay, yeah.
Until a funeral.
Yeah, Emily actually said the exact same thing.
Oh, really?
To which I also said, it's like, not true. Well, yeah, but only if I die or if my sister dies, because not everybody's going to show up to certain funerals.
You gotta love family drama.
Oh, you got to. And, like, I love my family. It's always good to see him. It was nice to see my nephew because he's 11, so he's at that age where it's just like, he's just into, like, everything. Like, I taught him how to play pool. At the hotel that they were staying at, and me and Emily made him a skateboard for Christmas this last year, which he's been enjoying a whole lot. So It's nice to see him. I wish I could get out to see him more often, but and like mostly just because he's at like that right age where it's just kind of like anything I introduce him to, he thinks it's the coolest thing on the planet.
That is fun. That's a fun age.
And I only have that for like another like 2 or 3 years before he's just like too cool for everything.
Yeah, before he gets opinions.
Yeah.
I don't like that shift when my little cousins hit that age. It was like all of a sudden I was the least cool person in the world, and before then it had been like, here's a lightsaber, let's fight, and they were like, yeah.
It's a small window, it really is.
That's the weird thing, because like my youngest cousin, who literally just turned 24, literally just turned 21 before the wedding, so like the open bar was not a good thing for him.
Fair.
But like he still thinks I'm like the coolest person on the planet. It's just like, dude, I just remember like playing Yu-Gi-Oh with you in the backyard when you were a little kid, and like you were really into the Wiggles. And that's like the only like memories I have of hanging out with you.
Oh.
But he still just thinks I'm the coolest guy on the planet, so that's fun.
That's nice, yeah. And you get that Gen Z approval.
Yes.
Yeah, and you know, any kind of Gen Z approval is always just like, you know, that's like crack. That's like mainline that thing.
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah.
It happens so rarely.
Yeah. We'll talk into intergenerational approval stuff as we get further into the show. But yeah, so something we were talking about pre-show that Brie brought up, since I was at a wedding, you know, obviously there's music selection at the wedding, which I would give my sister a solid B+ in terms of like the music choice for the reception. You know, there was a lot of like, you know, R&B, like hip hop classics going, stuff that I remember, stuff that like, you know, just like, there are children here. I don't know if this was a song I would have picked, knowing that there are kids here.
Not
but then I remember
a bad one. So.
Well, there was like Pony by Genuine, which I'm just like. What the funny part is when my stepdad started dancing, which, you know, when my stepdad's dancing, he's had a little too much to drink.
That's the best part of the wedding.
But Brie, you brought up kind of a sort of TikTok talent that you and me are familiar with, who does like nerd remixes on TikTok, and they're always like themed about like wedding. It's like, you know, you're at a wedding and the couple's also a Final Fantasy nerd.
Yes. Yeah, the one I saw first was the Final Fantasy VII one, which was like, it was such a fucking banger. I was like, I want this at my wedding, please.
I did make a joke to my sister because I walked her down the aisle when she just did Here Comes the Bride, and I was just like, what, you weren't going to do the Imperial March?
I mean,
because I 100% would have done that.
Absolutely.
I have seen a person on TikTok who does piano renditions, and they'll start with the Bridal March and then gradually turn it into the Imperial March or the Jurassic Park theme.
Yeah. Oh, the Jurassic Park thing would be so funny.
That was my answer to the question I feel like you're getting to.
Just about. No, there's like a lot of good ones, but I feel like the ceremony works better for the thing. I'm not as musically inclined as maybe Seth is, but like trying to do a remix of two like existing songs, like I don't know if I have the talent to come up with a good combination in my head. Mm-hmm. And so when you see people who can do it very, very well, you just appreciate it.
Yeah. I can't do that.
No.
It's tough. Like, there's a lot of things that factor into that. That's why I'm like, if I had to pick a song to be at my wedding that was like of the nerdy variety, because I was thinking about this driving the other day. Listen, Kingdom Hearts, a very silly series, and I'm very aware of that. But I am ride or die for those games, especially 1 and 2. And most importantly, the opening song from Kingdom Hearts 1, Simple and Clean.
Yeah, I was about to say that's a banger.
Yeah,
that's a banger.
The remix is so fucking good, and I'm just like, that's gonna be like how the evening starts. That's how we're gonna start the dance party, and people are gonna like lose their mind. So, or at least the people who know.
So me and Emily obviously eloped in Vegas, so we didn't get to really have any of that. But like, I always kind of think it's just like, you know, I really want a live band, but it's also just because like I'm not going for like dancey like club music. I'm going for like more like punk rock show vibe for it in my head. So like, I feel like a live band would do better for that. But like finding a live band that can do the kind of music me and Emily would both want would be very, very niche.
For sure. That would be
yeah, probably. Especially cover bands for weddings. They usually have a book. It's like, yeah, pick from this.
So like we have to like pick like one that we really, really like and settle on it. Like you couldn't get somebody who could just do our entire catalog. And then like I think a lot of the guests would be like, you guys picked very interesting music for this wedding. It's just like, yeah, well, you know, we're weird.
most wedding music sucks. So I'm glad that your sister had like good, like the last two weddings I went to, the music was terrible, so awful. Like I'm like, guys, they made music after the 80s. Let's, there's so much to choose from. That's not like the shitty, very standard wedding music. Like, please.
Well, like we were also it was a very multiracial wedding because
Okay.
you have like the black half of my family, and then her husband is half black, half Puerto Rican. So like there's just like very multiracial, multicultural. So the music reflected that.
That's such a good thing to happen. I love
Yeah,
that.
to
Yeah.
It's
say the
usually the
least.
white part of it that makes it so much worse.
See, I think they saved the white part of it for brunch because my sister basically just had the Eagles playing, and I'm just like, you realize just because our dad loves the Eagles, you don't have to love the Eagles, right?
Mhm.
I don't think a lot of people do realize that. There are so many people I know who it's like, well, my dad loved this band, so I've got their entire catalog on my phone. It's like, do you listen to it? No.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of music that my dad introduced me to growing up that I still really like, but there's definitely a lot of stuff that my dad introduced me to that I'm just like, you're old.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't care how good that Styx album is, Dad. I'm not going to listen to it.
Yeah, no, that's pretty accurate. So, anyways, bottom line is weddings are fun, but maybe be a little bit more creative with the music choices. Brie,
Fair.
Brie, in your eventual wedding, we have high hopes for you.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a phenomenal music taste, and I'm a dancer, so I feel like it's gonna be good. And if there's gonna be a bunch of pole dancers at my
I was
so,
about
it's
to
gonna get
I was
fucking nuts. So
I was about to say, like, if there's not like pole dancing at Brie's wedding, we did something wrong.
110%. There's something wrong.
me and Emily also talked about, like, it's just like, okay, so what burlesque performers are we getting to be at the wedding, and how do we work
Yes.
that in without giving grandma a heart attack?
That's amazing.
But yeah, so weddings are fun. We're a weird group. Our weddings would be a lot more fun than your family's wedding. That's all we're gonna say.
It's facts.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that leads us into our next segment of the show, which is this week's homework assignment, which was brought to us by Seth. So, Seth, go ahead and take us away on homework.
So I picked Galaxy Quest because I thought it was a really interesting parody that also talks about fandoms and parasocial relationships, and that's all I really had. So what did you guys think? Yeah, I just stole what you wrote in the Google Doc.
I mean, that was basically just kind of the list. But yeah, no, it's a very so my first thought, more or less, kind of it, and it goes back to what we talked about maybe a few weeks ago when we talked about Dragon Ball a little bit, and like I talked about Dragon Ball Z Abridged, of how like that's a parody that is made by fans for fans, and it works because like even though it's making fun of the thing, you could tell they still love it. And that's very much what this movie was. Like, yes, is this a movie that's making fun of Star Trek and Star Trek fans and all that stuff? Yes. But they're coming at it from a place of love for that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, a lot of other things that, like, sometimes parody or, like, make fun of certain things, like, they're coming at it from, like, look at these losers who are into this thing so much, and, like, they don't get it. So that was kind of probably the most refreshing thing about the movie, especially the fact that this movie was made 25 years ago.
Yeah. The movie's I forget how old the movie is.
Yeah, it's 99. Which I thought it was I thought it was like 2005, maybe like mid 2000s.
It feels more like a mid 2000s movie. I remember seeing this in theaters as a child.
Yeah, me too, actually.
It makes me feel extra old.
Well, like I think the reason that it feels better is like it does hold up way better than it should for being, a movie made at that time. Bree, do you have any thoughts?
Not much. I did watch this yesterday. Honestly, it's very much of its time. Like I feel like most movies of this time, like it just fit this exact structure, like top to bottom. It was entertaining. It was fun. I really like that it kind of commented on parody and parasocial relationships and nostalgia. So I'm so glad that we wrote that down on the sheet.
That was kind of the basic three takeaways, because it's like, okay, it's a parody, obviously, but it's a parody not so much of Star Trek itself, even though that's clearly the thing that they're pulling from. Like,
Yes.
more or less, they felt like they wanted to make a Star Trek movie without making a Star Trek movie.
Well, the original intention was to have the cast of the original Star Trek franchise as the main people.
Yeah, and you could feel that as well. And like that's also what makes it feel weird, is because like you watch it today, and like if they were to try and make this movie today, it's just like, okay, when's the Will Wheaton cameo coming? When is like the random like close up of Shatner at lunch gonna happen? Like you're expecting at least like somebody. But like you could kind of tell, and this was also in that era where it's one of the things that they kind of commented on, of just kind of like, you know, the actors kind of being sick of being associated with this one thing.
Yeah, and that was something I took away from it as well, is that in the early 2010s when cons were getting huge, you saw this shift of like the Power Ranger actors, people who had like stayed really far away from everything, were suddenly like, oh wait, people like this, I can make money going to these conventions. And you see how it's changed, how in the late 90s it was like, oh, come on, you're doing cons? Your career's over. To where now everyone's doing cons.
Yeah. Well, cons were always super niche back in the day, and like they actually nailed kind of the feel of what like an older con would feel like, where it's just like, it's only about this one thing. It's not about like, because like now Comic-Con's basically, the comic in Comic-Cons like is almost gone. It's just con.
Yeah.
And it encapsulates everything. You have your anime people showing up, you have your film and TV folks showing up. Like, you know, it's one of those things where it's just like they all kind of got conglomerated into one thing, and so it makes it to where it's just like there's a bigger pool to pull from. And like you're right, you know, people realize like, oh, I can just do an autograph signing and charge like $20 a pop for like a photo op and stuff like that, and like suddenly it's just like, hey, I can make a little bit of money off of this. Whereas like back then it was literally just like, maybe you got like some kind of payment from an agency to do an event, but like that's all it really was.
Yeah. Well, and the biggest ones were Star Trek conventions at the time.
Yeah, I think they were kind of like, obviously like Comic-Cons, especially because Comic-Con goes way back.
Yeah.
They've been around forever, but they were always like very specifically just comic books. And so like Star Trek was one of like the earliest like, you know, fan events that they kind of had consistently.
Yeah. There's a whole documentary on Star Trek conventions called Trekkies that came out in the 90s. I don't know if I can recommend it to anyone, because last time I watched it, it was very much, look at these fucking nerds. So like...
so yeah, exactly. But like having that like opposite kind of thing, where I see this a lot in comedy very specifically, where it's just like you have a version of comedy where it's just like, we get it thing, we like it, we love it. And then you have another side of comedy that's just like, look at these losers for making fun of it. I call it boomer humor.
Yeah.
Just like, here are what the kids are into, and this is why it's so dumb. And I'm just like, okay, boomer.
Yeah.
Or I would also, I was going to say any SNL sketch ever.
I have a theory on SNL that was proven by Drew Gooden in a video he did, which is where the show's always been bad. You just remember the couple good skits from the year that you watched it.
I've always felt that way. When people are like, did you watch Saturday Night Live? I'm like, never. No, why would I? It's not a good show.
It's literally a cream of the crop. If there was a good sketch or a good segment or something, like I'll find out about it on the internet later.
Exactly. Like I'm going to sit down and watch it.
Yeah, I'm not going to like take 2 or however long the runtime is for SNL out of my Saturday night.
Of course.
To watch it. Like that's probably got to be like one of the hardest sells in television. It's just like anything over a weekend.
Yeah.
Like
especially nowadays, like before, like in the 70s and 80s when the show was starting, there was just nothing else on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why they got away with so much of the stuff that they got away with back in the day.
Yeah.
Was the fact that it was just like, oh yeah, no one's watching, so who's gonna snitch on us? Yeah. But no, one of the things that they kind of touched on in the movie was kind of parasocial relationships. That was kind of a very big theme. And like this was made like before like we even had a word for parasocial relationships.
Yeah.
In fairness. Obviously that like concept's more prominent now with like online personalities and influencers and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But specifically in this, you know, you're seeing fans interacting with the actors, and like the fans have like certain kind of feelings and connection to it, and like even the plot is centered around, you know, a group of aliens who don't understand the fact that the show wasn't real.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and they can't even comprehend it when the people are telling them, no, it's not real. The ship is this big. It's like,
Yeah. And so that's kind of like one of those things where it's just like, yeah, and there's a lot of people who did grow up watching like Star Trek or shows like that who like did get really into those shows and have a strong attachment to it, but like don't necessarily understand that like, hey, William Shatner does not care that you were a big Star Trek fan.
He's also a person, like a human being, which is like I think a big factor. Like I don't know if you guys heard about this Anthony Mackie thing that happened recently. There's this big TikTok that went viral about somebody meeting Anthony Mackie, and he was just like on the street, and this person came up to him and like expected him to be like, "Oh my God, wow, a fan! Like I can't believe it!" And like Anthony Mackie was like, "Hey, could you not with this right now?" And now like it's all over TikTok that like Anthony Mackie's like the biggest dickhead ever. It's like, no, you bothered that person in doing their whole life, like, and not like in actor mode, and then you approach them as if they were still doing that. Like they're still human fucking beings. And I think people forget that constantly.
I would absolutely hate being a famous actor.
Yeah.
I would, or like a famous musician or anything. I would absolutely hate it. I remember when we did Movie Club, and there were people who recognized me like in public as UFC, and I was like, "What the
really?
fuck?" Yeah, like that's happened like 3 times.
I had it happen
like back in the day
too.
Like people like
It was weird.
Like I got like it happened once at Best Buy. It happened once at one of my ex-girlfriend's ballet recitals, and it happened another time kind of like randomly in the wild. And I was just like, first off, what the fuck? Second of all,
leave me alone.
Yeah.
No autographs, please. No photos.
But speaking to the internet part of that, Twitch and like YouTube personalities have made parasocial relationships so much more common because you're watching somebody who uploads every day. You're also following them on Discord and on Twitter, and you really do start to feel like, no, I know this person. I am their friend, when you're not.
Yes.
And they wouldn't recognize you.
And the problem is a lot of those people, especially like streamers, I think are probably the worst offenders at that. They exploit that. They try to make you feel like, you know, oh, you're a part of the thing. But like to them, you are literally just a wall of text. You are literally the chat. You are not really, you're just like a title and like whatever type that you put in there or whatever, like emotes or whatever. Like, there's a huge separation between the kind of two things. And not to mention, like, these people have their own lives. Like, there's been several times, especially back in the earlier YouTube days, where there was, like, popular vloggers who did stuff, and then, you know, they're getting divorces, or they're, you know, have some kind of scandal, or, like, all this. It's just like, I can't believe this happens. Like, we see stuff they do every day. It's just like, no, you see the stuff that they want you to see.
Yep.
They are curating... Go ahead.
Yeah. I was just saying, it's amazing that we are this far into social media and people still think that that is real life. And it's like, no, that's the screen that I allow you to see, not my actual life.
What I've kind of like come to the conclusion with is like, one, you have that people who like never matured past high school. Like you see that a lot, like people who still have like the emotional and social maturity of like kind of like everything is like clicky, sort of celebrity gossipy, just kind of like that's how they treat reality, which I'm just like, I do not understand how you function.
Yes.
But then you also have younger people who haven't developed at all into that, suddenly coming into it, and then this is the world they're inheriting. And so like, and there's always going to be young people coming into this at all times, and if anything, they're coming in younger these days.
Yeah.
Because when we were kids, like I didn't get a cell phone until I was like in high school.
Same.
Like social media like wasn't really kind of a thing that I was doing until like mid high school. And so like
I was 15 when I got my first MySpace.
Yeah. But like some of these kids are getting it before they even hit, you know, double digit age.
Which they're not supposed to. It goes
absolutely.
Services, and also it's just not an okay thing to do.
No.
Yeah, the fact that DeSantis signed a law banning teenagers on social media is like, you don't get to pick one thing I agree with.
Right, exactly. Don't do this to me.
It's that Onion article that everyone shares around, which is like, the worst person you know made a good point.
Broken clock is right twice a day. Just like, it happens. We have to accept it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it is one of those things where it's just like, but it's amazing how like they had that theme in there at that time because it was present at that time. There were fans of the show, and like, you know, they have the Jake Long character who's just like, okay, so we have a question. How did the physics of this thing work? It's just like, dude, it was a fucking TV show.
Yeah. I don't know.
I didn't write it.
Yeah. Well, and I love the calls that they make throughout the movie where it's like, whoever wrote this episode should die. This is poorly written. Why is this here? Because it's on the show. Damn it. That's all one scene I just quoted, by the way.
Yeah.
I was about to say, that was that entire, like, them going through, like, the piston, like, kind of,
Yes.
like,
Crusher
where it's
thing.
just, the timing makes no sense. Like, that's not how an engine works. But no, like,
Wait, you're telling me that engines don't work by things going up and down?
well, they do, but they typically have more precise timing than just like 1, 2, 4, 5.
And what was that counting? I've never been able to figure that out my whole life.
That was literally the thing. If somebody made a parody about this parody, they would reference that. It's like, okay, so this is what that timing meant and how it would work.
Yeah.
Like someone would write literally how it makes sense. But yeah, no.
Is also, sorry, just this side tangent. This movie is also responsible for me getting a crush on Sigourney Weaver.
Yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
She's stunning.
I appreciate the fact that, like, you know, like, so this was like the point I was kind of going to make about, like, they did a great job of casting because basically they had every, like, actor basically play themselves. You had Tim Allen as the Hollywood douchebag. You had Alan Rickman as, like, the thespian who, like, just, like, respects the craft, but now he's, like, pigeonholed into this, you know, crappy TV role. You had Sigourney Weaver is just, like, everybody, you know, just treats me like a piece of meat, and I had the stupidest lines. I want to be taken seriously.
Well, and to that, she talks about how, like, her, I can't remember what article she said she was in, but her interview was about how her boobs and how it fit into her costume. And it reminded me of a thing that happened a few years ago with Scarlett Johansson.
Yep.
Yeah.
And how all the other male actors are being asked, like, well, how was the exercise routine? You know, was the stunt training difficult? And then she was asked, like, so was it hard fitting into that skin tight costume?
What kind of underwear did you have to wear? Like, it's just like that's all. It's still fucking happening. So
Yeah.
Like, I will say, as, like, you know, very dumb male, I do appreciate good Sigourney Weaver cleavage. Not going to complain about it.
she's a beautiful woman. Yeah.
But also at the same time, she's also an amazing actress and, like, deserves, like, every fucking bit of respect she gets.
Really funny in this, where she typically
Yeah.
plays more serious roles. She was really funny in this.
Yeah, no, very underrated as a comedic actress, and she can do it. Like, I've seen her do it multiple times, not just in this. She's done other comedic roles as well, especially, like, later, like, in her career. But, like, she is a great actress. But, like, the casting was, I think, really good for this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sam Rockwell, I love him as Guy.
Yeah.
Is there air? You don't know.
No, but, like, literally it was almost like, hey, your actors playing actors, literally just play yourself and you'll be aight.
Yeah.
That's kind of what the movie was, but it worked. They got the right people for the job.
They did.
Absolutely.
They absolutely did.
Yeah. And so, kind of like also playing into the nostalgia thing of it, which, you know, we all know how much Hollywood loves to make money off of our nostalgia.
Yeah.
It's basically what it's been the last 30 years.
Even this, there's talks of a sequel to this, and I'm like, don't.
Yeah.
No.
I'm very much ready for a post nostalgia world, but then it just keeps happening.
Yeah.
Well, there's money in it.
Yep.
It's just the nostalgia changes.
Everything's a remake, everything's a re-release. You know, you even talked about it when Battlefront came out a few weeks ago, where it's just kind of like, you know, it's just like, hey, I got to play the single player part of it, and that scratched that nostalgia itch. Even if that small amount of it, that's enough to get you to pay the money for it.
Yeah. Well, and just this entire generation of console gaming has largely been re-releases and remakes.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
It does.
It does and it doesn't. I will say I appreciate that. Like, I don't know, the new Final Fantasy VII has been fucking dope, and I like that game so much. But, like, I will say, I was about to say, I was like, oh, well, they keep doing that because millennials have money, and I was like, oh, no, we don't. They keep doing that.
Here's the thing. It's one of those things where it's just like, I feel like there's like a theory now. It's just like millennials have, if we just make sure millennials have just enough money. It's just like, hey, you have $70 left in your bank account. Guess what you can afford? The new Final Fantasy game.
that tiny bit of happiness to get you through the week.
It's just like, hey, I realize you're running low
Enjoy.
on serotonin. You've been eating ramen like 5 nights a week. Here's a little nostalgia for you, kid.
Yeah. We already know you don't have a third place you can go to between work and home, so we're just gonna give you a video game to play.
It's like polyamory became popular because who can afford rent on 2 incomes anymore? You need at least a third or fourth.
Absolutely. Purely necessity based.
Anytime me and Emily ever talk about it, it's just like, okay, do we want a third or do we want a roommate? What's our motivation here?
Both? Who's to say?
Yeah. I could never do polyamory simply because I can't make one relationship work. I'm supposed to make 4 work at the same time.
I have a friend who's like been polyamorous since I've known her. Is actually how I met Emily, and it's like one of those things. She's just like, I'm dealing with a hard breakup right now. It's just like, okay, which one did you break up with? Because I know you didn't divorce your husband, and you were dating like 7 other people. Also, I do not know how you're supposed to juggle any of that.
Yeah.
Makes
that
absolutely
overwhelms me.
like I'm just kind of like, I can't even get. Like literally, it's just like I could never cheat on Emily. Literally, just because like when the hell am I gonna have time? And by the time I do have time, I'm just sleeping.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also,
I like my alone time too. Like I need some time for me.
yes. Mm-hmm. I could not do that. That's why I have a long distance partner. This is perfect. I have so much alone time. But yeah, I'm like, even if I did have spare time to be with another person, relationships are too much work. No, thank you.
Babe, can we please cancel our Skype call today? I literally just would like to just snuggle with the cat and go to sleep.
That has 100% happened before.
Capitalist nightmare.
Yeah, it's just getting worse.
All the time,
No
in
election
fact.
yet.
Yes, I did just read an article that I'm sure you all have seen this, like floating around, that millennials are spending the least amount of money, and they're putting us as the problem with the economy because we won't spend any money. And like the most prevalent comment on that is like, do you guys want us to have the avocado toast or not? Because you've been bitching to us about it for fucking ever.
I'm still waiting for the article that is millennials are killing avocado toast. I'm still waiting for that article.
Fucking literally. So
yeah,
we've never spent our money right.
Oh no, Emily straight up sent me her budget for, you know, kind of like after accounting for like all current expenses, and like she doesn't have a car payment, she got the car paid off and everything else like that.
Nice.
And then even after everything and like the recent rent hike, it's just kind of like, here's how much I expect to have left over at the end of the month. It was like not good.
It's like $20.
And like, of course, like I paid for most of the stuff when we were out in Texas, and I was just kind of like,
Yeah.
like it's just like, hey, when were you planning on playing for those training sessions with Tony? I was just kind of like, talk to me after my next paycheck.
Yeah.
Please. Well, the laughing because we'd be crying, so.
Yeah.
Speaking of having to pay for stuff, streaming services.
Yes.
I had this thought after, you know, doing this, because like when we talked about doing Galaxy Quest as our homework assignment, you know, it was like one of the first things we did is like, okay, where is this on streaming? And so the only places we could be able to find it was for rent on Prime and YouTube and other places. But apparently when I went to YouTube, it says, hey, you can watch this on Paramount Plus. And it's just
That's
like,
what I did.
I just happened to have a Paramount Plus subscription. I went, it's just like, hey, you need to pay for the extra part so you can watch the stuff that's on Showtime. And I'm just like, fuck you.
Oh, jeez.
So I ended up like paying like the $4 to rent it on YouTube. Because I don't want to give Bezos more money than I already do.
Right. And that is something that is really frustrating, is when you look up, like, where is the streaming? Oh, it's on Hulu. And then you open Hulu, and it's like, oh, you got to have live TV. Oh, you got to have this other streaming's add-on to watch it. It's like, just fuck off.
Yeah,
that's my issue with RoboCop. Yeah, like I could not. It kept saying it was like on all these services, and every time I download the service, they're like, "Oh, actually, this particular movie not a part of it, and you actually have to pay $8.99 a month." I was like, "Get so fucked!" Like I'm like, "You said this was on your fucking service," and even with a Galaxy Quest yesterday, thankfully. I don't have Paramount Plus, so on YouTube they're like, "Do you want a free trial that you can cancel anytime?" I'm like, "Yes, I'd love
sure,
to cancel that
absolutely.
anytime. I will cancel it right after I watch this movie," and I did. So
Oh, the
Hey.
classic canceling right after you watch the one piece of content you wanted.
absolutely.
Takes me back to the day of people downloading like the trial of Photoshop and then just basically making a new email every time they needed to do
Yeah.
download Photoshop.
So I'm
I know
working
people who
emails
did that
for.
for years.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
I had multiple friends in college who specifically did that just to use Photoshop.
Just
I wonder
pirate
what
it.
yeah, that also. I was gonna say, I wonder what percentage of their profit, all of those companies, is people forgetting to cancel their free membership. Because I'm like, it's got to be a decent chunk.
that is
Yeah.
literally the model. I mean, like gym membership models run off of the same thing. It's just like we're going to make it just cheap enough to where it's just like you'll never actually show up to the gym ever again, but like you're
Yes.
not going to take the time to cancel the thing. That's basically Planet Fitness' entire model. It's just like, hey, it's $10 a month, and whether or not you show up to actually work out is not our problem.
That's
Yeah.
so true. I used to be an EFT operator for LA Fitness, so I would actually I would call people when their credit cards expired on their account, and I gotta tell you, I would say probably a solid like 30% of the people I called did not know they still had active gym memberships, so they were
Yeah.
just paying this fee for like often years, and they're like, "Oh my God, I never looked at my credit card statement, and I haven't been to that gym in like 3 years." I was like,
That's
"Sorry,
what
that's
happens.
$300, LOL." So
That happened to me with Hulu. I signed up for Hulu, forgot about it, and then like a year later, something came on there that I wanted to watch. I like opened it up in my browser, and it just signed me in right away, and was like, "Oh shit, I've been paying for this for how long?"
a lot of money.
Yeah, that's a big security issue. If like you hadn't signed it in years and you just signed in automatically, that's kind of
Yeah, that's
that
Apple
session.
for you.
Yeah, that session should have expired a long time ago.
Yeah,
No, that's also my favorite where it's like you did have an account for something and then it's just like you try to like, oh, starting a new account. It's like this email already has an account. It's like, when the fuck did I make that account?
It's like, I don't
Yeah.
remember.
it's that the Gandalf meme of like. You go
I have no
sign in,
memory of
and
this
it's like
place.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like now they're adding ad stuff to things. Like now on Amazon you have to pay an extra $3 a month to not have ads on Amazon content. I'm just
It's
like
bullshit.
I'm just
So
like
crazy.
you're literally like have the stupidest amount of money out of any company in the world. Do you really need a little extra revenue out of me?
Yeah.
I already have to use you every time there's a useless piece of thing that I need to buy and it just happens to not be in any store near me.
Yes, and I need it in 2 days. So
Yeah. I hate the fact that I buy stuff off Amazon. I always feel so dirty every time I
you said
do
some
it.
stuff you can't find anywhere. Like even when
You
I used to run a
can't.
book club, like some books, like I always buy independent, like from bookstore, like independent bookstores. But certain books they have an exclusivity deal on Amazon, and that's happening more and more. Where I was like, I'm so conflicted because I want to support this person, but I don't want to give Amazon more money, and then I don't do it.
And like brick and
Well,
mortar
and
dropped the
even-
ball huge like back in the day. Like camera stores were bad. Like there was like
Yeah.
2 or 3 like local camera stores in my area when I was in Albuquerque. And basically like I was just like, oh, I want to support the local brick and mortar store. I don't want to just be ordering all my stuff online. But then I go there and just like, you guys don't have anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm
Well,
just like, ask about it, and they would just be like, oh, we could put it on order for you. It's just like, well, if you're going to just order it in for me, why wouldn't I just order it myself off of B&H or Amazon?
Yeah, or your own website directly. This is an issue I've been having with Guitar Center for a while, is that like I use an eclectic string gauge that they used to carry at all their stores, and within the last 5 years they just, no, we don't carry that gauge anymore. We can order it for you. It's like, well, I can just open my phone and order it off of your website or get
Yeah.
a 10-pack on Amazon. Like,
Yeah, just it's so dumb, and it sucks. Late stage capitalism sucks.
Yes.
yeah.
I think that's the theme of the episode is late stage capitalism
True.
sucks.
Almost
I mean,
every
like-
episode.
Yeah, also it's just kind of it's a part of our lives all the time. But yeah, honestly, like that mixed with like social anxiety, especially again post COVID, like I don't shop in stores anymore because it's just like they're not gonna have what I need, and I'm gonna have to spend gas, which gas here is like almost it's over $4 now.
Jesus.
So I'm like, okay, well, I'm not gonna leave my house because I can't fucking afford to. I order my groceries online, I order my clothes online. I went to a Home Goods the other day and I was so stressed out because there were so many people in there and I couldn't find what I needed. I was like, I hate this. Who's still doing this? So we're all just gonna stay in our homes and never leave.
Yeah, even like when I do go to the grocery store, it's like when it's crowded, I'm like, how did I used to deal with this? Like, I didn't used to have a panic attack every single time I went to the grocery store. What happened? And then you're right, it's COVID.
Yeah.
And it's expensive.
I also
Yeah, I
don't
guess.
remember grocery stores having that much of crowds back in the day either. Like, it's one of those things where, like, now it's like, okay, I can't go to the grocery store on Sunday because Sunday is the day that basically it's just packed the entire time. I'm just like, dude, grocery store used to just be like 5 people are there grabbing some stuff real quick and getting out. But, like, now it's like literally people go in and hoard a bunch of stuff. And, like, I typically avoid using delivery services just because the added cost is always just like, just, again, late stage capitalism squeezing me for every penny. But
I call it the lazy tax.
yeah, no, it's the thing. It's just like, is the extra $10 worth having somebody else go get my Taco Bell versus like just taking the time to drive to go get it?
Yeah,
But, like,
But then you can follow that rabbit hole to some dark places where, like Brie said, you got to spend money on gas, and it's like, okay, so how much gas is it going to cost me to go to, to Taco Bell, McDonald's? Is that going to outweigh the $10 on this delivery fee?
That's actually what I miss most about like being able to work from home full time is literally just the fact that like, cool, I don't have to spend money on gas at all. Like, you realize how much money I saved over the pandemic just from the fact that I didn't have to drive anywhere. I probably didn't put gas in my gas tank for like 2 months at one point because I was just not driving, and anywhere I drive to was like only like 5 minutes away, where before like I was like driving 30-40 miles a day.
Yeah, that adds up.
Oh, and the oil industries love that.
Oh, 100%.
Well, because like Russia had to end up hacking our thing, causing a shortage, and then it's just like, oh, hey, look at that Ukraine over there. It'd be really shame if something were to happen.
Oh God. No, it's so true. Like the job I have now, which again, like I feel like this is probably happening to more people too. Like the job I work now, it is the longest commute I've ever had to do for a job. It's like about like 30 minutes each way, which like is not that bad, all things considered. But yeah, I would say all things considered, that's not bad. But I think more people have to do it all the time. And again, that's like gas is now a major expense for me. I have to fill up my tank at least once a week. And then again, that's best case scenario. It takes me 30 minutes to get to work. On the way home in rush hour, I'm there for a fucking hour. So it's just like I'm spending so much of my life in my car. And I wonder also if this contributes to like the crowds always at grocery stores too, because I'm like, I think people are just working more jobs at odd hours or gig work, and they are just going to the grocery store where they can. Because to your point, I'm like, I've been to the grocery store at a variety of different times. Doesn't seem to matter. It is always busy because people are just there when they're the small sliver of time they have to do that is when they're at the grocery store, which could be literally all day. So,
oh, makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's insane, and it's also just one of those things where, like, talking about kind of like where we're talking about like crappy, like what industries are millennials killing articles. There's also like all the articles we have now where like they come up with like a new things to make us feel guilty about our work ethics.
Yes.
And they're just like, people are quiet quitting. Do you mean literally just doing our jobs?
Yeah, just doing what's required of me to do and nothing more.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's just like
paid for.
people aren't going the extra mile anymore. It's just like, well, were you going to promote me? No? Okay, then fuck off.
Yeah, even in some cases, I remember working at like a corporate restaurant, and they were like, okay, we're going to promote you up. We're going to have you do all this extra training, and then you're going to be doing all these extra tasks, and we can offer you 25 cents more an hour. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a common model too. I just had a friend that they had to do all these my friend's a hairstylist, and like she has to sell products for the company, and she would have to sell, I think, like $4,000 worth of product for her to get a 10-cent raise. And that's pure profit for like the owners of the company. I was like, wow, they really think we're just so fucking stupid that like we'll just like hustle. Just be like, oh, but you get slightly more money, 10 cents. So and that happens constantly.
Well, like, I always hated, like, the commissions model because basically it required you to always kind of hustle. But even that I would prefer over just, like, getting a 10-cent raise for selling thousands of dollars worth of product. I'm just like, fuck that.
It truly is. Like, I'm like, wow, they really think you're a fucking idiot. And it's like, but make me more money though, and then maybe I'll give you just a slice of that money I earned. So
Everything's a pyramid scheme at the end of the day.
literally.
And you wonder how the boomers got convinced into doing it all. Like, oh, hard work, determination, stay loyal with the company. How did they get sold on that shit?
I think it did work for a while. Like, I think it did exist for like
Probably.
a small period of time. Because like I know like my dad, like he stayed with the same company for like 40 years, and he got several promotions. Like he did very, very well for himself. But like, it's we're getting promised the same things and not actually being delivered on them. Like, I know I've told you both that it's like I left my corporate job, which I meant to stay there my entire life. I was so set to stay with that company, and then when it came to me getting a management position, I was told that I'm too friendly with my teammates and I can't get a promotion for that reason. So it's just like, or that it was promised to somebody else already. So sorry, keep working hard though. And I was like, why would I keep working hard? I have nothing to fucking show for it.
Yep. No,
You've
that was kind of.
You're not going to reward me for that work. Why should I keep doing it?
Yeah,
Exactly.
I had kind of a similar problem at Discovery. It wasn't so much about promotion. I did get passed over for a promotion once, and then got it later after two people they gave the promotion to quit. That was hilarious. But but also
That's
just kind
always
of. But it's like one of those things just like, hey, we noticed that you're not doing any like of the project work. You're kind of just doing all the basic stuff. It was just like, yeah, because every time I do project work, that project gets scrapped like right after I started. So I've decided to not bother
Yeah.
with it and just focus on the things that like are mission critical. And they were just like, well, you're a senior, you need to set example. It's like, yeah, and I set the example by like basically making sure that my team's not burnt out on doing a bunch of useless tasks.
Yes.
But we want you burnt out. We want you.
Yeah.
burnt
Well, I
I'm
was
just
gonna say the 4-day work week is like is kind of becoming more of a part of the conversation again. And you know who's fucking against that? Fucking all the corporate, the CEO, things like that. They are so against it. And I'm just like, as somebody who has I'm kind of taking every other Friday off for my job, and I cannot tell you how beneficial that has been to my mental health, because there's just not enough fucking time for anybody to do goddamn anything. Like, you are expected to work 5 days a week, 40 hours bare minimum, and then have enough energy to have a social life, to have, enough money to go out with friends, to like do all your chores, to like rest, and it's just not enough fucking time. So assuming you even have 2 days in a row, which I think a good majority of people don't have anymore either. So it's just like,
Yeah.
it's wild. I could bitch about this forever, because I'm just like, it's so like, because it's just a great model that works everywhere. And like, everyone I know who has a 4-day work week, I work hard as hell during those 4 days. I work so hard, and like then we have that 5th day where you're not doing fucking shit because you're already burnt out, and you're just having to sit there at work and pretend to work just because you have to work 5 days a week. So it's an archaic model.
Yeah. So we did a 4-day work week when I was at Discovery. Like when I first started working there, it was like 10-hour shifts, and so you only had to work 4 days. You got 3 days off, so you got like however it worked out. And so like for the most part, you would either have Thursday, Friday, Saturday off, or you would have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. But the best part about that was literally it's just like, cool, I have a weekday off where I could run all these errands that I can't run on a weekend, because everything that I would want, like I can't go to the bank on a Saturday or Sunday, or I can't go do all these things. Like, cool, I actually have the ability to do these things, and like I can go to the gym on the middle of the day on a Thursday when nobody's there. So great.
Yeah. Doctor's appointments that you don't have to take time off for, like, because like you need to go to doctor's appointments, and you have to like purposely take off time work, and you shouldn't have to.
Literally, I have to schedule any kind of appointments on my work from home days or work remote days, and just try to hope that like nobody tries to contact me in like the hour or two that I'm going to an appointment or something.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I haven't been to the doctor in like 15 years.
Emily forced me to go like
It's
2 years
expensive.
ago, and I was just like, am I dying? No? Cool. See you guys in another 4 years.
That's what you got. It's expensive even with insurance, which is like a whole nother fucking can of worms. But I just went to the dentist on Friday, and yeah, it's been 3 visits in a row to get this fucking crown in, and it's so much money. So I'm just like, just take the fucking teeth out next time.
Yeah.
Just take as many out as you need to. I don't fucking care. I can't afford this shit.
Yeah, my dentist is notoriously trying to upsell me on everything, and I'm at the point where it's just like, I'm just coming in for cleanings. I do not want any extra shit.
Yeah.
I had to stop going to my dentist because I was like, listen, we've had this conversation 5 times. I can't afford what you want to do. I need to do a cheaper option. They're like, well, we don't want to do the cheaper option. I'm like, of course you fucking don't. It's because you want to make the money off of me.
Well, what do I want? The patient. Crazy.
Yeah. So I'm currently looking for a new dentist because I had a falling out, like literal yelling match with my old dentist over my own care.
Yeah. It's just like, look, I can't afford this. Like, I get that, like, there's a perfect option that costs a shit ton of money that I can't afford. I need the option I can afford.
Even with dental insurance, like I'm very convinced that good dental insurance does not exist.
No,
even
absolutely
again, with me
not.
just getting my crown, they only covered. Sorry, it's a small tangent, but I know you'll appreciate this. So, and I might have mentioned this before, but I asked for a quote for my crown because they quoted me $1,700 for the get-go, and I was like, "Can I get a quote with my insurance?" Yeah, for a crown, just for the crown, and that was on top of my emergency surgery, which was another $1,700, which I did not have, and I had to get a separate credit card to pay for that. But so I asked for a estimate for my crown with my new insurance. It took them 4 months to get it. And when they finally got it, they're like, okay, it's going to be $680. But hey, just a quick heads up, because you asked for a quote, we have to have the money up front. And I'm like, fucking, it took you 4 months. It took you 4 months to get the quote. And now I have to pay you immediately. I was like, this is so fucking wild. So everything is so broken.
Yeah, no, last time I was in and like, they were just like, oh, hey, we need to put more fillings in and everything. I was just like, we want to get it done like December, kind of whatever, which by the way, like all of my like insurance like coverage had already kind of run out. I would have to pay all of it out of pocket. I was just like, yeah, we'll do that in January after my insurance resets.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I'm ready to just basically just kind of like even just drop my dentist. It's just like, fuck it. I'm just going to use the water pick and the electric toothbrush and like, hopefully that gets me by.
Just hope.
It's just way too much money. Shit.
It is. No, it absolutely is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're in good positions too, honestly. I'm like, there's most people who can't even afford that kind of like base level insurance that a lot of us have. So it's just like we're complaining from a place of privilege, but it sucks for everybody. That's the capitalism sucks. That's the theme again.
Well, and I'm on federal insurance, and that took me 3 years to get approved for.
Yeah, it's rough on that.
That's crazy.
So, anyways, yeah, capitalism sucks.
Yes.
What were we talking about? Streaming?
I think we were talking about streaming platforms.
We are, which leads us to the new thing that capitalism is trying to screw us over, which is AI.
AI. Yes. I did additional homework for this topic and listened to a 2-part episode of Behind the Bastards about how AI is becoming a cult in the tech scene. Very good. I recommend it.
100%. The Daily Show's week actually tackled AI, and they even like talked to like the head of the Federal Trade Commission, and just like specifically just talked about how it's just like, do you find it interesting that all these corporations basically are just using AI as a way to basically not have workers and just basically like reduce employment, and like they're trying to make it seem like it's just like, oh, it's going to fix climate change, it's going to help with all this medical stuff, but in the short term, it's just making it to where everybody's going to get laid off.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and even like helping with medical stuff, you need somebody else there. You need a person, because AIs are just algorithms. They respond based off of prompts and things that they're given. So you can get a false positive, you can get a false negative on health stuff within AI. Yeah. And it's not good to solely rely on that.
Yeah, no, it's very funny because like I feel like using the term AI was like specifically a PR marketing move to describe this stuff, because it's not really AI, at least not in like the sci-fi terms that we think of it, where it's just like it has a consciousness and can think for itself. It's like, no, it's literally just an algorithm that can pull data from a pool based on a prompt that you gave it. That's all it's doing. It can't do anything originally. It has to pull from previous information.
Yes.
Yeah. And the AIs that we have right now are completely incapable of being able to do like thoughts for themselves, to want, to improvise. They can't do that at all. They need the prompts.
Yeah. And like I've done certain things just kind of like trying to just play around with some of these programs and stuff, and they suck. They're not good. Like everybody's making some like everybody makes it seem like, oh, look at all these things that AI could do. It's just like, dude, like this is the worst written like essay I've ever seen in my life that you just asked this thing to do. Or
Yeah,
like
it's
now
just
you
not
have
that capable.
now you have the image generators, and like I'm seeing so many images now on social media that are like clearly AI generated, and you can tell they're AI generated. It's not even like subtle. Like
I see
remember
videos
back
on
in like
TikTok.
yeah, go
I
ahead.
see videos on TikTok where it'll be like the top video, one is AI, one is real. And it's like, guess which one's the AI generated one? And the whole point is to be like, can you believe how real it's getting? And every single one, I'm like, that's the AI one. That's the AI one. And I'm
You
right.
can always tell. It's really not that subtle. It's and I might have mentioned this before, but I was on Etsy and I was trying to get an artist to do a group picture of my D&D group, and every artist on there is doing AI art, and it all looks the fucking same. And they're charging so much money for it, and like, which I it's not ethical, especially in the art realm.
No.
Like they are stealing people's art, and that is like the long and the short of it. I don't know why people are still arguing this. And in fact, there's a really popular app that was like running a couple like I want to say about a year or two ago, and me and a couple of my friends did it just because everyone was doing it, and it was very weird because we're all like alternative girls, like we got the same pictures. Like I'm like, this is my face posted on somebody else's body, and that feels so gross because again we all posted them, and I'm like this is a photo of a woman, like a real life woman in this world that you just put my face on, and I'm like, that's very creepy and it's unethical, and it's very scary. And I'm just like, and the fact that people are like, wow, it looks so real, I'm like, because it is real, it's a different person. So,
yeah, they stole this.
Yes.
I mean, it's basically the Photoshop problem, just like removing a step. That's basically all it is. Because again, like talking about how you can identify a fake AI image very easily. You could pick out like this is a fake Photoshop image. Like you can tell right away. And like it's easier for some people. Like obviously in the work that I've done in photography, like I know a bad Photoshop when I see a bad Photoshop. And like now, like but like AI just like seems even more obvious. It's just like I like the way that they do like bokeh and out of focus areas, how they do like certain kind of like lighting effects, everything is just like this is literally looks exactly the same as everything else that's using an AI generation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And people are acting like it's not. Like it's just like, oh hey, look at this thing I made. It's like you didn't make shit.
Yeah.
No, you entered some prompts and then you waited.
And it's like big publications doing it too. Like local newspapers are using AI images on things that they're posting for articles and stuff now.
That movie, Late Night with the Devil, used a bunch of AI imagery for stuff in their movie.
Yep.
It's like, this is not okay.
Yep.
No, it's not. Like that is stolen art. And I'm like, I don't know how people are still arguing. Like, it's like, oh, well, no, I'm like, no, they took at the very least pieces of art from other people, from actual artists, and then combined it into very often nightmare creatures. So like that's a huge aspect too, because Canva just created an AI source for that. And I was like, I'm just curious what this looks like. And I'll have to see if I can send it to you later. But I'm like, I wanted like purple hair girl doing yoga. And let me tell you, there are feet and hands and eyes everywhere. I'm just like, this doesn't fucking work.
Yeah, no, OpenAI came out with Sora, which I don't think is like officially public, but like it's been given to a couple of production houses now. And like you look at some of the samples that they have, and like people's like hands disappear and stuff when they're doing stuff. Like it's still not very good. It's not there yet. And even then, it's just kind of like again, you look at the videos that they put out that are being made by it. It's just like you can tell that these are not like actual things. Like you could tell that just like all of it's just like there. It's like, and like I could see an application for some of these things in certain aspects. Like a lot of my job is basically going through stock footage libraries and stock photos, and even Adobe's stock library has AI generated content that if you put in a prompt, it like takes stuff from their libraries and makes AI stuff. And again, all of them are unsettling and look really, really kind of just off there. There's that uncanny valley effect that's just there.
But there is a use in like having an AI where you can type in, hey, I need stock images of blank, and then it automatically searches through the library for you and then compiles a list of like, here's houses near the beach, and then you can pick all of the real stock images. That's a use for AI, but not the way that they're utilizing it, which is weird.
Yeah, and it's also similarly like Adobe, like actually a tool that I think is they have a podcasting software that's for basically audio cleanup. So like you would take like your podcast audio, put it in, and it would basically clean it up for you and do all the processing. That's a good use for it, because I'm not asking you to make like a fake host or anything else on a prompt. I'm just asking you, it's just like, hey, somebody sent me like crappy cell phone audio. I just need it to like sound listenable.
Hey now.
Hey, no,
random example.
Seth's audio, your guys' audio has actually been very good. I've been very happy with it. But then you guys actually understand the use of headphones.
That's true. It's amazing how many people just don't have headphones in when they're recording.
Oh god,
shit.
I have this conversation at work all the time with people who don't wear headphones when they're on like video calls, and like everybody else is not, so they just have their audio blaring out through their laptop, and
that
then
like short circuits my brain. Like I can't handle that much input, and I'm just like, I can't hear what you're saying because there's so much going on.
Yeah, I'm just like, just use fucking headphones.
Yeah. It's easy. It's like that Speech Jammer app that came out like 10 years ago. That would talk back to you and fuck up your sentence. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I hate
that happens naturally in my work now because of the exact thing where it's just like I can hear myself through somebody else's computer, and then like it causes that like I can't talk because my brain can't process properly.
Absolutely.
So bad. But yeah, so.
Well, another issue we're going to have with AI, and I heard somebody talking about this, I can't remember who, but it's like the feedback loop is eventually going to start really affecting these AI images, where the internet's going to be flooded with shit that's created by AIs that's ripped off from real artists, and then other AI engines are going to be stealing off of that, and shit's just going to start getting fucked.
We're already kind of starting to see that. They've talked about like there's been instances where like AI models like have tripped over themselves because they started pulling off of AI generated content.
Yeah.
And
it's bound to happen, and I know it's definitely happened with resumes. I think there's a big to do about that kind of recently, where it's just like because it's taking from existing content that it's being blocked by people's systems when they're like actually reviewing resumes. So like people aren't getting callbacks anymore because they use AI to write the resume. And I was watching, I think it was an Eddie Burback video, and he got an ad while he was like on his like fucking stupid Google thing.
Oh, I watched that video too.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a whole other can of worms, but like he had an advertisement for an AI lawyer if you're in a car crash, and I was like, that could be really predatory and dangerous. Like, I hope no one will actually use that, but I'm like, somebody who can maybe not afford that kind of thing and then relies on that kind of thing, like an AI source for that, that's going to get really messy really fucking quick, and people are going to get in a lot of trouble. So
yeah, I've seen some things where people like wrote, like had AI write like a simple cease and desist for it, and it's just like, in terms of like just writing generic legal sounding like copy, like it does okay. It sounds like it was written by a soulless lawyer.
Yeah.
Weird.
Well, lawyers are just a step up from artificial intelligence anyway.
Yeah, I'll be sure my sister who just got married hears that.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so that's always fun. Anyways, AI dystopia. It's kind of lame. The robots were supposed to like take up the crappy jobs, and it's taking all the creative jobs from us.
Yeah.
Thanks, capitalism.
Yeah, exactly. And I might mention like a real life example. My sister used to work for Best Buy, and they fired their entire graphic design staff. And she was one of them, and now that is all replaced by AI. So a lot of like the landing page, like granted, I don't know who the fuck shops at Best Buy anymore, but I'm like, if you went on like their landing page, all those little ads used to be done by people, not done by people anymore. They're all AI generated. So thanks, Best Buy.
It's funny how many companies. Go ahead.
Sorry, a quick side tangent. I had an interview at a Best Buy a little while ago, and they were like, so like if we hired you, where do you think you would like be in 5 years? And I was like, well, definitely not working here. All these places are going to be closed in 5 years.
So maybe not even 2 years. I don't know.
I did not get the job.
Surprise. You could have at least been like, yeah, I might be running the stereo department. Who knows?
Yeah.
Tell them what they want to hear.
Yeah. I'm not good at that in interviews, man. Do not care.
Anyways. So anyways, that leads us into our next segment which was suggested by Brie, of Nerd Show and Tell.
Yeah, it's so funny because I suggested this and I was like, Now just like looking around my room, I was like,
Forget what you were gonna show us.
I think it's funny because like I could look in both of your guys' camera and like see like 5 different nerdy things that you could pull from at a given notice.
oh, super sidebar! I found out, not to get too political, but I found that the CEO of Squishmallows is a filthy Zionist. So don't buy Squishmallows, friends. Thanks so much.
Shocker.
Yeah.
Go figure. There's
Well,
always something.
Oh my god, I know it's such a bummer. I was like, man, I'm gonna have to boycott fucking everything, and then they're gonna be mad at me for not buying things.
I do take the approach again, since this is a very capitalist centric episode. There's no ethical consumption under capitalism, so we're all just trying to survive, and Squishmallows give you serotonin. Don't feel too guilty about it. Just put some of your effort into causes that matter when you can.
Absolutely.
Don't eat a
and
Chick-fil-A.
small business. Love small business.
Yeah, go to Popeyes where they're mean to you, as any American should.
But their food is great.
Oh, Popeyes has always been superior, like, to me. It's like, I don't give a shit about Chick-fil-A, but I fucking love Popeyes.
No. I will bet you if we looked into it right now, though, we'll find
absolutely. Again, no ethical consumption under capitalism. Like, there's always going to be something, and try not to feel too guilty about it. Just try to do best with what you can.
Yeah.
But why do you hate the gays, Aaron? Why would you say it? I'm saying.
Well, see, so there's this one time at band camp. No, just
as the only straight person on this podcast, why do you hate the gays?
Into the mic, please. Thank you so much.
So I hate my bisexual wife because.
Hey, that is dangerously close to I have a black friend. That's not an excuse you should use.
Fine. Do I go to why do I have a black dad?
So this is our last podcast, guys. Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, there it is. We got it.
Yay!
We did it.
I was waiting for Brie quitting to make sure that we had a complete show.
Absolutely. Perfect. See, I didn't even quit. I was just canceling the entire podcast.
Yeah, all things over now.
Sure, everybody canceled the straight white guy on the show.
Typical.
Now I'm going to go on Joe Rogan and talk about how everybody's coming for me.
Perfect. Finally. Oh my god. Beautiful.
Oh, shit. Show and tell.
Yeah. Here, I'm gonna go off camera really quick, so talk amongst yourselves. Let me see if I can grab something for you.
Fair enough.
I don't want to talk.
I was about to say, everybody quickly go grab something in 3, 2, 1, go.
This will make for riveting content. Should I get my portal gun? That's kind of nerdy, but y'all can see that. Oh, they're back.
Oh, this is fun. I'm already enjoying this.
Yeah, it's a good segment.
Perfect.
Everybody ignore all that dead air.
Yeah. Oh no, I was talking through a lot of it.
Oh, good job.
Starting a mini therapy session. Yeah.
Yes, Seth is a professional. I'll have to review that once I have to do editing.
Yes.
I need to dust, so I'm just gonna dust this.
Okay. I
That's
just
fine.
deep cleaned the other day, so I think I'm good.
I really need to do that.
Yeah, we did a quick clean before we went to Austin, and then of course we got back and unpacked, and now basically the suitcase has just exploded over the apartment.
Of course.
Since it's in frame, I could show this right now, but this is Commander Shepard.
That is an amazing femshep.
Yes, and she has her little, I forget what this is called, but she has
the Omni Tool Blade, yeah.
Yes, and then she also has a gun, but I usually have her have this. I really love this because you can either switch this from Paragon or Renegade, and you can't get this anymore. And I actually was going to sell it, but I found out it's worth a lot of money, so I'm not going to sell it, but I love her so much.
We call that a millennial investment.
Oh, 100%.
Yes.
And I also have a ugly doll Batman and a skill animal Batman as well, and they're very cute.
Those are great.
Very happy with those.
I grabbed my original Blue Eyes White Dragon cards that I framed.
Oh,
Fucking nerd.
Yeah. Oh, it gets better. It gets better.
Just you
My
wait.
official certificate as a junior Power Ranger that I've had since I was a
Oh,
kid.
that's fucking beautiful.
So, me and Emily got these when we were at Target buying supplies for the wedding, actually, before we left. And I'm a financially responsible adult, but we had little sleeping Charmanders and Bulbasaurs.
Beautiful.
They're in the Squishmallow vein. They have like that Squishmallow like squish quality, but they're not made by Squishmallow, so not Zionist.
Nice.
They didn't have Squirtle, but I didn't care because who cares about Squirtle?
Oh, I was gonna say, are those usually the starters that you use?
I'm either doing Charmander or I'm doing Bulbasaur. So
Yeah, I'm a Bulbasaur household myself, so my partner's a Squirtle person. I was like,
yeah, so
I
Charmander's
love Bulbasaur. I love Bulbasaur. I don't like the Venusaur design. Ivysaur is great, but I don't like Venusaur. So because of that, I typically go Charmander or Squirtle.
That's fair.
That's fair. But yeah, no, so Emily ends up being the Bulbasaur Snuggle Pal, and so I get Charmander, since typically I am a Charmander starter, but I do love Bulbasaur.
He's
Bulbasaur's
so
great.
We love him.
That's why Pokemon Yellow was so good, because you could just have all three of them.
Yeah.
Truly.
I was thinking about Pokemon this week because I was watching a video where people were talking about like what was there, which were you? Were you red or blue as a kid, or were you yellow? And I was like, it made me remember that I was red. I got red, and then I found a Pokemon Blue cart laying on the floor inside of like a Ross or something without a price tag on it or whatever. Picked it up. Hey, cool. Now I got both. We went on vacation. I lost my Pokemon Red. So by default, I'm a Pokemon Blue.
Oh,
Yes.
man.
So growing up, I had red. My sister had blue.
And
then
the good old
eventually,
sibling trick.
yeah, the good old sibling trick. And then eventually, my sister got like, because I think she broke her Game Boy at some point. So for one of her birthdays, she got like the special edition yellow Game Boy Color that came with Pokemon Yellow. And so she became the yellow person of the household. So I was able to use both red and blue and like try to actually catch them all, because there's certain ones you can't get throughout, like, you know, great Nintendo being Nintendo.
Yes.
Yep. Some of them you can only get by trading. Some of them you can only get if you own the other game.
Which means you have to buy a link cable, and which means you have to have an extra thing. It's just like, they tell you it's because you have to have friends, but we all know better.
Yeah.
Friends.
No. Nerds don't have friends.
Definitely not.
At least we didn't in the 90s.
No.
I have so many friends now. Wow, so many.
I have friends. I definitely have friends.
Oh,
I don't remember which one I had growing up, to be honest. I think I'm gonna blame this on, like, again, I'm one of 5 kids.
All the
so,
bong
like,
resin that's blocking your brain.
also that, yeah, but no, but I'm like, I'm one of 5 kids, so like I never really had my own anything, so I probably had whatever one of my siblings had. And I remember my little brother got silver at some point, so I definitely I had it at some point, it just wasn't mine. I think the first Pokemon game that I bought was like the last one. So
honestly, growing up made me realize how much debt my parents were in, because I was just like, how did we all have versions of this stuff? And it's just like, oh no, we were in massive debt. That's why.
Yeah.
So like,
it was the 90s. It was like good times.
It was the 90s and mid 2000. Everything got put on a credit card, but there was like legitimately a time was just like, how are we, like, I was just like, how do my parents afford all that crap? Like, I know how much money they make. Like, the math's not mathing. And there's just like, oh, massive amounts of debt. Got it.
that'll do it.
Yeah. And then you file for bankruptcy and then flee the country.
Yeah. We've all done it.
That's a podcast.
Well, you're gearing up to.
I mean, listen.
That's a podcast for another time.
Yes.
Anyways, so that leads us into our next session of homework for the next couple of weeks. And so I wanted to pitch, I don't know if you guys have been watching it, but have any of you guys watched any of X-Men 97 yet?
I have not
Not
but
yet,
I would love
no.
to.
All right, well, then that's what we'll do. There's currently 4 episodes out. They come out on Wednesdays, so there will be at least like 2 other episodes, I believe. There's 4 currently.
All right. So there'll be 6 total by next record.
Yes, so there'll be 6 total by next record. If you want to watch some of the original 90s cartoon, go for it, but I don't really think it's a precursor. Like, honestly, if you watch the original 90s cartoon, they kind of throw you straight in anyways. So,
Sure.
and so this one does take place after that one leaves off, but as long as you kind of understand who the X-Men are, all you have to really know is Charles Xavier's dead. He left Magneto everything in his will, and it's kind of just jumps in from there. And if you're familiar with any like X-Men lore from the like 90s to early 2000s, like the story beats are very familiar.
I'm excited. This is a great choice because there's a lot of controversy around this show, so I can't wait to talk about it.
That was the thought. I felt like it was relevant enough to what's going on and easy one enough for us to kind of keep up with, especially since I did Clone Wars last time, and I was just like, I forgot how long these seasons were.
Yeah, that was a lot of watching.
It's so good though. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll revisit it at some point.
Perfect.
Next time a Star Wars thing happens.
Let's hope there's not a new Star Wars thing for a while.
Yeah.
I guess Bad Batch has been going, but like I didn't even watch the previous season of Bad Batch, so like I'm completely off the wagon as far as
I've
Star
never
Wars
even
stuff goes
heard
right
of
now.
that before. So.
There was a trailer for something recently.
Acolyte,
Yeah.
yeah. Again, like I'm so off the wagon.
It was a good trailer.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Somebody's watching them, statistically, probably. So.
As long as this thing good. Go get him, Bo. Get him. Get him.
Well,
Get him, Bo.
I know.
He said it's been too
here
long,
comes Fox.
Father.
Here comes
He wants
Fox.
attention.
Oh, baby.
Hey, Bubba.
Yeah. I've been neglecting him since we started recording.
Oh my goodness, he's suffering. Look at him. He said, Father,
I
how
know.
could you?
We got such a rough life.
Yep.
So
Oh.
hard.
I know Dante's sleeping here like he pays rent, so.
Yeah, I like how Bo
Yeah.
kept jumping on you, and Fox is just like, why the fuck am I here?
Oh, Fox.
Oh, hey, you're gonna rip up my headphones. You realize how much these cost?
Right?
I can't hear anything now. There we go.
Yeah, those are Sennheisers. Those are nice headphones.
Yeah,
Are
no,
those, what are those? I know what model that is.
it's the Drop 6XXs. They're based on the 650s.
Okay, yeah, I was thinking they were the 650s.
Yeah, so they're not like the top of the end, but they're still pretty nice Sennheisers.
I
I
think
mean,
those
these
are
are
the
pretty
ones
nice too. They're blue purple.
Yeah.
I got them on Amazon for like $10. So top of the line. They used to glow, but they don't anymore. So
that.
Hey,
Top of the line.
you lost your gamer cred the moment the RGB stopped working.
yeah, exactly. Fuck.
All right. Anyways, I think that's enough for this episode of Internet Friends. We will be back with talking about X-Men, and hopefully capitalism will have fallen by the time the next episode's happens. So we don't have to keep talking
Here's
about
hoping.
it.
Is there an election between this and the next episode? Because that's probably when it's going to happen.
I'm trying not to think about it.
Yeah, fair.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.